Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be talking about Transformers 1. So I just saw Transformers 1 a little while ago, had some time to think it over, and here are my thoughts on the movie. So to start, I'm going to start with the positives. This is by far the best Transformers movie. It outdoes every other Transformers movie in every facet of filmmaking. I'm talking the story, talking the action, talking the character design, everything. It's just so much better in my opinion. I'm going to start with the story here. So, in my opinion, this just works. It's so much better than any of the Bay films, better than the two Mark Wahlberg films, better than the other two, the Bumblebee and Rise of the Beast. It's just better than all of them because we're finally on Cybertron. We're getting an origin that's cohesive. Outside of Bumblebee, in my opinion, this is the only one that actually tries to give an origin story for the Autobots. I'm not big on the lore. I'm gonna have to admit that I don't know it as well as others. I am aware that this one alters the lore a little bit, in particular with the cogs. We see that in the trailer. They get the cogs that allows them to transform. That's different from the original lore of the Transformers. It works for me. I obviously can look past that I don't know the original lore. This lore works for me. It's really fun. It actually adds to, I feel like, Optimus's character because it's kind of the whole Tony Stark, if you nothing without the suit you shouldn't have it. You kind of see him at his lowest. Captain America even, he's a little scrawny kid, gets the super soldier serum, becomes a big powerful guy. It works for me. What basically I'm gonna keep doing MCU parallels, but it's like what Erskine says. It amplifies what already makes the person great. Are they motivated by greed? Are they motivated by righteousness? It's great, and you kind of see that between Megatron and Optimus Prime. And another Marvel movie that I'm gonna parallel this to is X-Men First Class, because if you think about it, it's very similar because you have two brothers, Megatron, Optimus Prime, who want the same thing. They want betterment for Autobots, and they have two very different modes of going about it. One of them's far more diplomatic. The other one is very not, and that goes with Charles and Eric. Very, very, very just follows the plot very similarly. They have a wedge. Even I'm not gonna spoil anything, but even kind of how Magneto paralyzes Charles. This has that parallel. It's just there's so much in here that parallels that relationship, and it's fantastic. It's one of the best kind of story plots. Yeah, Anakin and Obi-Wan. There's so many different examples of it, and this one does it perfectly. It does it very, very well. I think everything about that works super well. You kind of just see the motivation between the two characters. It works beautifully. I'm going to kind of touch on certain characters now. Bumblebee, very, very good at comedic relief in this one. I was skeptical of Keegan-Michael Key, and there's just movies, Super Mario, Toy Story 4. There's just some of his voice acting movies. I'm not a huge fan. I just don't think what he delivers just doesn't work. But the last few movies I've seen him in, Wonka, and this, and he brings it. He does a good job, and everything about his character works. The knife hands, super funny. They add on into it even more in the movie as well, from what you've seen in the trailer. It's pretty good. But the standout, it's gonna have to be Brian Tyree Henry as Megatron. Every scene he is in is fantastic. Before he gets his cog, he is very much so the I need to follow the rules, the goody two shoes kind of character, which is definitely not what Megatron is. And this, once he becomes Megatron, every single scene, he's just so powerful and emotional. It's just so good. Like, there's a scene in particular, I really don't want to spoil it, but it has to do with Sentinel Prime, the one of the primary characters of the movie. It's fantastic. Everything about his character is great, and you can see where he's coming from. You feel the betrayal he feels, and you understand why he feels the way he does, and you can sympathize with why he wants to do what he wants to do. But you see that Optimus's way it's the ethical way, it's the right way, and you really feel for the character, and the more and more he goes down the wrong path, the worse and worse you feel. It's like in the movie The Joker, with Arthur Fleck. It's like you sympathize with this guy and you see where he's coming from. You see that he's suffering from that mental illness and nobody's here to help him. At the same time, you're like, oh, you know where it's going. You know who he's going to become. And it's just you feel so sympathetic for the character, but at the same time, you're like, I can't root for you. I can't buy what you're selling, essentially. But he's just such a good character in this movie. And the other thing I'm gonna have to point on, and I've heard other people negative on this, I'm not one of them. I love the character design. I think across the board, the design for these characters is fantastic. I actually think they've gotten better and better. I don't actually really like Michael Bay's Autobot design. I like them a lot better in Michael Bay in not Michael Bay in the Rise of the Beast and Bumblebee. Those ones are so much better in my opinion, and I like them even better in animation. And I'm going to touch on this a little bit more, but there's certain studios and studios are starting to see this, but there's certain franchises that just they work better as animation, and Transformers is one of them. The other one is, in my opinion, the Ninja Turtles. They just worked so much better as an animated franchise, and the movies are better. Maybe Mayhem last year was one of my favorites of last year. This is right now is one of my favorite of this year. I don't see it getting knocked down too far in my top 10 ranking. So I just think there's certain franchises that work better as animation. And when a certain someone, Michael Bay, isn't at the helm of these movies, because he kind of did both of these franchises at one point, the movies are way better. Not a huge Michael Bay guy, as you can see. Even like the Bad Boys movies, his two Bad Boys movies, just they don't hold a candle to the other two Bad Boys movies. So I'm sorry, I'm just not a Michael Bay stan. But yeah, I'll finally get to my negatives here. My only real negative is some of the dialogue in the beginning of the film is choppy for me. In particular, they mention the cogs, which you see in the trailer. They talk about the fact that they don't have cogs, which causes them not to be able to transform. They probably say that 50 times. It's just redundant and it's unnecessary, and at a certain point, it's annoying. And the only other thing I'm gonna say, I don't want to spoil it too much because this movie did just come out. You kind of can see where it's going from the jump. You see who's going to be the bad guy straight away, and you kind of know because you know Megatron and Optimus Prime, these two, they don't get along. So you know where the story's going a little bit, and you can see that with the villain. That's an unfortunate thing. You know, this is a reimagining of these characters, like for the millionth time. At the same time, it's just it's unfortunate for the story, but it doesn't really take away too much from me. It's just something that I noticed straight away. I was like, you're the problem child. You're the bad guy. The only other thing I'm going to touch on is the absence of one Peter Cullen. It was noticed for me. I think Chris Hemsworth did a great job, but no one's going to be able to replace those Optimus Prime speeches given from Peter Cullen. Like, all of the times in the Transformers animated show, I'll admit, touch and go on the animated show. I haven't watched all of it, but even in just the Bay films, he's the best part of the Bay films, and the Rise of the Beast. He's not really in Bumblebee, but he just brings so much. It's unfortunate he wasn't Optimus in this one, so that's just another negative for me. But in general, this movie's super fun. I think, especially if you're you have a family of your own, I highly recommend. It's very kid friendly. It's one that they're gonna enjoy, in my opinion, far and beyond the best Transformers movie. Nothing holds a candle to it, in my opinion. And like I said, every facet of filmmaking, none of them touch it. So yeah, it is a 9 out of 10. And if you follow me on Letterboxd, you'll be seeing a 4.5 out of 5 stars from me. I highly recommend this one. Everybody should go see it. But yeah, that's going to do it for today, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe, and expect a Transformers movie ranking coming very soon. See you guys.